Podcast. I am Casey Coggins, joined by Alvin Hebert.
Hopefully we're still recording.
And Andrew Lara.
Gravy.
Y'all gotta be the eyes to the computer because, last week we were recording, had some technical difficulties with my computer.
Your time and my time match up, so I think we're good right now.
So, we're hoping that we can get through episode 55 of our...
55.
I love that song. Takes me back to middle school. So, since we had the technical difficulties, we were going to talk national championship last week. So, we're going to just skip that because we kind of decided that Clemson spoke for themselves in their massacre of Alabama, which hasn't been seen since Nick Saban took over Alabama.
And on Twitter, at Drake.
They put on a show and Alabama no-showed. So that's enough about that game. So the main thing we're going to be discussing, though, is the NFL playoffs because the divisional round just wrapped up. We're chalk again. The last time that a team played a road game and made it to the Super Bowl was 2012, when both teams who made it to the Super Bowl played in road games, the 49ers and Ravens. So it kind of says something about the state of the NFL, about you get that first round bye, you only have to play 2 games to make it to the Super Bowl. Like, there's a reason why the Patriots have made it to 8 straight conference championships. 1, they play in the easiest division in football. So that's 6 games a year where they're going to go at least 4-2, 5-1. Like, they're going to win their division every year, which they have, and that gives them home field in the first round if they have to play in the wild card round. So all they have to do is, find a couple wins here and there, and they've gotten the first round bye in the last, I think, 10 playoffs.
10 years.
The last 10 years, they've been the 1 or the 2 seed, and it just kind of shows you the success of that team, that no matter, who is there, they still have Tom Brady, who's a consistent quarterback, where he's put up some average quarterback numbers and he's put up some great quarterback numbers. And then you have Bill Belichick, who is making sure everybody stays accountable for themselves and for the team. So it's like, you watch them, and I texted y'all both this, just going in the game that they played this past weekend, is every year it seems like when they play an unproven team, an unproven coach, that team does things that they haven't done all season. You're having an all-pro punt returner, kick returner, muff a punt. Like, he's an all-pro punt returner. Like, this isn't just some random guy that they've been putting out there that, the Saints put out Tommy Lee Lewis. He doesn't see the field. He's not an all-pro returner. He's not Devin Hester or anybody. But this guy is their starting safety, an all-pro starting safety, and an all-pro kick returner, and he muffs a punt.
Are you saying it's a conspiracy? Do you smell something?
No, definitely not. It's definitely not a conspiracy, but it's like
don't get it started.
The Patriots conspiracy.
Not only are you playing a great team,
Fear the goat.
but you're playing a team that is not going to make a lot of mistakes. So that amplifies the pressure on you already. You're like, they're going to be ready to go. They're not going to make any mistakes. And so you're like, I have to make every play I can. And it kind of ramps up the playoff pressure even more when you see who you're facing. And you see it time and time again, year in, year out. Teams start crumbling in pressure moments against this team. And all they have to do is run the same shit that they've been doing all year because they know that team again on the other side of the field is going to melt. Year in, year out, for the last 18 years, it doesn't matter what they do, what kind of talent they have, the other team just seems to, like, panic almost and do things out of character. But let's go back and talk about the first round so that we can kind of get into some happy moments and reminisce on the Cowboys pulling out a playoff game.
We're done with that.
Yo, Cowboys won a playoff game. The next day, Jerry bought a $250 million yacht. I know they get playoff checks. You know, you make the playoffs, get the extra game, it's not including your salary. I don't think it's $250 million worth. That check is not no $250 million.
Well, Jerry doesn't make his money off the Cowboys. So we got to remember that what the Cowboys make for him is money on top, which is ridiculous because they're the most valuable American sports franchise.
I thought they're the most valuable sports franchise in general.
I know we talked about this, but I thought it was going to be Manchester United.
Yeah. So I was pretty sure it was a soccer team that was up there.
But Man U? I know they're worth a lot. I know they're real.
I know it was surprising too for me because I was thinking like Barcelona or like Real.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so
even Arsenal.
So it was this past year when the Cowboys took over the top spot. July 18th last year, Forbes posted it. The Cowboys were up 14% from the previous year, $4.8 billion net worth. And Manchester United 4.1, Real Madrid 4.09, Barcelona 4.06, and then the Yankees at 4, and then the Patriots at 6, or Yankees at 5, Patriots at 6. So the Cowboys are up $700 million
On the next.
It's one of those, the James Harden stat right now where he's 5 points higher in points per game average than second place, and 5 points from second place is like the number 25th scorer in the league. Like that's how it was there. Is $700 million from 1 to 2 is like from 2 to 9 in sports franchise value. Mm-hmm. That's how good Jerry Jones has it right now. And he bought that team for like $400,000.
Yeah. Pennies on a dollar. Ridiculous.
We know this.
It was kind of like the boogie trade.
Well, but it's one of those like Jerry Jones walks into the bank. Hey, I need a $250 million loan to buy a yacht.
Mr. Jones, you own the bank.
Yeah. Which vault do you want us to take the money out of? You own 13 of 14 in this bank.
His old senile ass was like, oh shit, yeah, you fucking right, huh? Come on, bitch, let's go.
This is why I need Steven around me at all times. So
you want to take a ride in the boat?
But yeah, they played a very good game against a very solid team, a team that found themselves in the middle of the season. And Alvin likes to give us shit about our take on Seattle in the middle of the season.
That's right.
Because we were down on them, we didn't think they would make the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they started handing the ball to Chris Carson, who started getting the ball like 30 times a game, and they led the league in rushing, and it allowed their defense to stay healthy and find themselves.
Well, when your best defensive player breaks his leg, you have to stay healthy.
It's true. But Seattle, and we'll talk about a little bit about the Baltimore game against the Chargers. Both of those teams, Seattle and Baltimore, they just showed weakness in coaching, like in philosophy, because Seattle went and tried to do something and it was not working at all. Like, they were not running the ball.
Yeah, stuffed.
And they didn't put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands. Just let him show do something different. Make some adjustments to what the defense is giving you. And they never did. Just like with Baltimore.
Well, I think we talked about it last week regarding that game. That was the recordings that were lost. R.I.P.
Yeah.
But
they're in the clouds somewhere.
One of the clouds.
One of the clouds. I'm not even sure which formation.
The score tells a different story of the game. The final does not tell you the story. The Seahawks had 4 or 5 good plays?
Yeah, all in the last
whole
2
game.
minutes.
The whole game, they had 4 or 5 good plays, and they lost by 2.
And 3 of them were by Russell Wilson.
Right.
2 Tyler Lockett catches and 3 runs.
It was. I'm going to pull up the numbers really quick, but I know that Russell Wilson had 200 yards passing, and he had 53 on a broken coverage at the end of the game to Tyler Lockett. I don't know what the Cowboys were doing, but they just were like, "Hey,
they took a nap.
Go ahead. You go back. You keep going. Just keep going."
A gazelle just.
We're gonna fuck everybody gambling on this game.
Yeah. So Russell Wilson, 18 to 27 for 233. And 53 was on that busted coverage, and a lot of it was in the fourth quarter when they were just like, all right, time to just start gunslinging. And there was that one play to Baldwin on the sideline, which was a beautiful throw and catch. Yeah. They weren't going to win that game, and you could tell kind of early on that they weren't going to do what they needed to do to win that game. Losing Janikowski didn't help much.
That is the craziest narrative to that game. Right. The fact that you're a kicker.
It's like you can go take away from that game once the game ends, and you can turn to somebody and be like, did the Seahawks lose because their kicker got hurt? And it'd be a legitimate...
And somebody can argue, yes, they did. Absolutely.
Yeah, onside kick.
The onside kick?
So,
if you want to call it that.
I wanted to talk about this last week, and I did briefly. So I'm going to do it again this week. It was stupid of Pete Carroll to go for 2. Because if you're not going to trust your kicker to kick an extra point to put you down 3, you're not going to trust him to kick a field goal at 21-24. So you're telling yourself that you're going to go for a touchdown no matter what the outcome is of that extra point. But let's say he kicks the field goal, lets Michael Dixon get a field goal underneath, under his belt, see how he kicks it. If he completely misses it, you needed a touchdown anyways, and now you know I can't have this guy kick a field goal. If he makes it, everything looks good. You at least have the option that if you're in field goal range to kick field goal. It gives you more information if you just kick the field goal. But instead of kicking the field goal and seeing what you have, you go for 2, and now you're down 2, but a field goal is not going to do you any good because you obviously don't trust your kicker. The 2 points did nothing but lose Vegas a lot of money. Or win Vegas a lot of money. I don't know where the bets were, but it was just they covered because they went for 2. So maybe Pete Carroll was doing a little Pete Rose and keeping up with the namesake.
So as of 2017, onside kick recoveries were at about 21%.
4. There were 4 successful onside kicks this year.
4 of them this year?
4 this year. Because they changed the rules.
The kickoff rules.
So instead of having a running start, you don't get a running start, so you can't get 10 yards downfield fast enough, and you have to have so many people on each side of the field, so it limits the amount of people you can just throw bodies at. So it's just you have to hit something perfect in order for it to work. And having a guy who's never been in that spot before try to drop kick an onside kick.
Yeah. I think he figured in his head, he's like, you know what, onside kick is going to come down to the bounce. I think he took the bounce that after the kick. And he's like, oh, I got to bounce it right now and then kick it.
If you look at that replay, he hits that thing clean. He looks like he's trying to punt the ball 40 yards downfield. Like, what are you doing?
Wasn't he like a rugby player or a Australian football player?
Not, I don't think so. He might have been Australian rules football.
Yeah.
But he played at UT. He was UT's punter last year. He won the Punter of the Year award because this dude was, like, he's the best punter in football. I can guarantee you he's the best punter in football. He blasts 70-yard punts that bounce within the 5-yard line.
Like, he shaped a couple that game, didn't he?
Yeah, it was weird. He
did a 29-yard punt.
Justin Tucker missed a field goal too. Like, weird shit happened last weekend, and weird shit happened this weekend too.
That kicker psyche.
So
it's like
one Texas team wins in the wild card week. The other Texas team no shows, kind of gets blown out, which is it's weird because I feel like what you said, Andrew, how the score doesn't tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way with the Texans-Colts game, where the Texans were abysmal, but yet the Colts didn't score. Let's see, when did they?
They didn't score the second half.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up when they scored their last touchdown.
The Colts or the Texans?
They scored. They were up 21-0 with 6:24 remaining in the first half. It was 21-0.
They played a quarter and a half of football.
So, and then two and a half quarters go, and they don't score again. But the Texans only get the one touchdown, and that was with
Wasn't it
11 minutes left in the fourth. So they needed, which is reasonably easy to do with a team as good as the Texans, but not getting any pressure on Andrew Luck, not being able to stop the run,
getting punched in the mouth early in the game. On top of that, they pretty much limped into the game.
I do want to say that last year
time.
when the NFL draft was going on, me and Alvin were on Browns should draft Saquon number 1.
Saquad.
And you saw what kind of year he had in drafting Quentin Nelson with the 4th pick. We were both on Quentin Nelson at 4, Saquon at 1. You have Tyrod Taylor. If you build around him, he just took the Bills to their first playoff berth in 19 years or whatever.
I checked his averages. His averages is good for at least 9-game wins in the season.
But they didn't do that. Didn't help Tyrod. Their coaching staff was also terrible in the first.
They didn't really care about Tyrod. They just needed him to be there to say a couple words,
which was kind of like, which is sad to see because I think Tyrod is a quality starter. If you build a nucleus around him, I could easily see Tyrod in a conference championship. Super Bowl, it depends on how great the team is. You would need like Jacksonville's defense of last year.
I don't know, man, because even that Bills team,
they were really good.
Yeah.
Defense.
LaShawn McCoy.
Shady McCoy, they had fucking Sammy Watkins and that stacked ass defense.
Well, Sammy Watkins hadn't shown anything until this season with the Chiefs. Like, this was kind of his breakout year when he played so well for the Chiefs because him and Kelvin Benjamin, both former Bills receivers,
they had Robert Woods back then.
Yeah, too. Like they've really never been able to develop and utilize the talent of wide receiver they have.
But I'm saying like that, the talent of that team, regardless of one receiver, they should have making the playoffs, and they were one and done, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like that's underachieving right there. They should have gone further.
Yeah, they could have.
They even had a pretty decent coaching staff.
Yeah, I really like Sean McDermott as a coach, and he has the defense and that team ready to play every week. So it'll be interesting to see them going forward. But Quentin Nelson, back to him, he's arguably the best guard in football as a rookie. Like, that's how good he was this year. He was a Pro Bowler, and I think he got an All-Pro.
All-Pro also.
So, like, this dude is no joke. And he had the big play early a couple months ago where he came around on a pool sweep and just leveled a defensive back, and he's an incredible talent, and the Colts got a steal with him because he slipped. And yeah, the Texans couldn't do anything there. The other game, as I talked about it earlier, Baltimore, they never adjusted, and for whatever reason, they tried to pass the ball with Lamar Jackson early in the game instead of just sticking to their game plan that had got them to the playoffs to begin with. And I want to pull up how many times he ran the ball. But he was averaging like 17, 18 carries a game, and they ran the ball 23 total in that game. And he passed the ball 29. He was 14 of 29. He wasn't good. He got sacked 7 times. Obviously, something's not working there. You might want to change it up. And the only time that offense looked like they were going to actually do anything was when the Chargers started playing prevent defense, sagging off, not really trying as hard. They're just trying to kill clock more than anything. And it almost allowed Baltimore to come back and win the game. If it wasn't for Onwuosu, one of those Nwosu, their defensive lineman,
with the strip
sack at the end of the game, Baltimore was going to drive and probably score a touchdown and win the game. I don't know why the Chargers started playing so soft, and I think it kind of carried over into their next game. But the Chargers' offense looked pedestrian, which, the Ravens had a very good defense. They were a top 5 defense this year. And the Chargers' defense looked really good. And the Chargers were definitely the better team, and it's unfair. It's unfair that they had to be on the road. They were 12-4.
Yeah.
They were the second.
That's so sad.
They had the second best record in the AFC. And they were the 5 seed. I feel
they need to do the same fucking playoff reform that the NBA did, where it comes down to your record and it doesn't come down to
if you win your division, you're in. Win your division, you're in. I agree with that. But if you have a worse record than the team that you're playing, you shouldn't get home field advantage because it's unfair to the Chargers. Think of who the Chargers have in their division. Other than Oakland, who decided that they were going to light a dumpster on fire.
Fuck yeah.
And then push it down a hill into a fucking gas truck.
Straight Oakland style.
Fucking right.
Ghost riding the whip over there. Literally, nobody is driving their vehicle.
Full on Young Gravy.
Denver was a win or two away from making the playoffs this year.
And they fired their head coach too.
And the Chiefs are the number 1 seed. And they had the second best record in the AFC, and they're stuck in the 5 seed.
Didn't they have the same record as the Chiefs?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They tied for the best record.
So I feel like if the NFL should change that rule where it's like, all right, just better record goes further, because one, it goes to, if your division sucks and you win your division, you shouldn't get in, or you should get in, but you shouldn't get home field advantage in the playoffs. That's
Brady.
That's unfair. I mean, Tom Brady in the Patriots, they still went 11-5. 4 of those losses were inexplicable. The Miami loss on the last play, getting blown out by the Lions, getting blown out by the Jags, and they got blown out by somebody else. They lost 3 games by like 20 points.
But that's a typical Patriots year.
No, it's not.
They have those games where it's just like, what the fuck happened here?
They have one game
What
like
the
that.
fuck?
One or two. The outcome was like, wait, what the fuck what was that?
Ryan Russillo on his podcast actually broke down the last like 15 years of the Patriots to figure out when is the last time they lost 2 or more games by more than 10 points or more. And it's like you have to go back like 13 years to find a season where they lost 2 or more games by like 10 or more points. They deserved a home field game, but
should have been in the wild card round.
But yeah, that's like they didn't deserve the 2 seed this year because they were going up against. I want to get their records right. Let's go to standings. 7-9 Miami, 6-10 Buffalo, and 4-12 New York Jets. They went 5-1 in their division. So almost half of their wins just came from their division, where the worst team in the AFC North, the division that Baltimore won at 10-6, was 6-10. The AFC South had 3 teams at 9-7 or higher. And then, like I said, with the AFC West, you had the 2 best teams in the conference. And then Denver should have been better. They ended up 6-10, and then Oakland was a dumpster fire. It was unfair for the Chargers to have to play. They would have had to play 3 straight road games.
Yeah.
And then 4 with a Super Bowl if they made it there. But they took care of business in the first round. We'll talk about their last round. This last round for them. And then the last game of the wild card weekend. Spacing on it.
Eagles.
Oh yeah, Eagles, Bears, the double doink game.
Terrible.
Big Nick energy came through.
Big Dick Nick. Swinging past the knees. Must have been cold out there this weekend, huh?
That game. The Bears losing, the Seahawks losing, and Baltimore losing. Not necessarily the Texans, because I think the Texans stuck to their strategy and a decent enough strategy. I don't know if there was anything the Houston coaching staff could have changed in order to make that outcome different, other than loading up the box. But then you let Andrew Luck kind of...
That was just execution.
Yeah, it was... But I can honestly say that if Seattle would have changed up some of their coaching strategy, some of their schemes in the middle of the game, they probably could have pulled that game out. If Baltimore had to change their strategy early, they probably could have pulled that game out. And the Bears, if they would have changed up their strategy, they definitely would have pulled that game out. There aren't many games where you only give up 16 points in the NFL and lose. I would have to go through every game to figure out, go on ProFootballReference.com and search for games in which the winning team scored 16 or less. But I'm probably thinking those teams didn't fare too well when they scored fewer than 20 points. But what plagued the Bears was they ran the ball 18 times. They passed the ball 43. And I don't know if there's a Matt Nagy, like, Napoleon complex, like, I'm a great quarterback coach, offensive guru, that I'm going to show people that Mitch Trubisky is a top-level talent at quarterback. But not running the ball more, not controlling the clock more, not running play action as much as he could have, like
not having Cohen in the scheme at all.
Yeah, it was just it wasn't a well thought through game plan because Cohen ran the ball one time. He caught the ball 3 times and was targeted 5. So, based off of targets, you had him in 6 plays, essentially. Mm-hmm. And he's your most explosive playmaker on offense. Like, get him the ball more. Like, Jordan Howard ran the ball 10 times. Get him the ball more. Because what that's going to do is it's going to slow down the pass rush. It's going to wear out the other team's defense, and you might be able to break something later in the game. And they ended up being able to break something with Allen Robinson, who had an amazing game. But other than Allen Robinson, the Bears were terrible. The Eagles played great defense, but that still doesn't change the fact that the Bears' game plan kind of fed into the hands of the Eagles' defense. And it shows. And then it came down to a kick, a 43-yarder, which it shouldn't have come down to.
Doink.
Because, again, Matt Nagy, whatever. Nagy. He decides to call a timeout after a big completion instead of running downfield and clocking it. He also decides that he's not going to use his timeouts earlier. He could have had no timeouts with 1:50 left to go drive down and get in field goal range to win the game. Or he could have done what he did and have 50 seconds left with 1 timeout and try to drive down the field. Would you rather have the minute on the clock or the 1 timeout?
Get that extra minute. That's a lifetime right there.
Oh, yeah.
That's almost 6 plays, depending on how you run it. If you can hit an out route, a 5-yard out route takes 5 seconds. If you hit 10 5-yard out routes, that's 50 yards in 50 seconds. And you still have a minute left and you're in field goal range. I mean, that's all hypothetical because they're not going to let you. They're going to give up the middle stuff. But still, like, they hit a 20-yard pass play on the first play of the drive, and you have 1:50 left and no timeouts. Take the 15 seconds of running downfield to clock it, and you still have 1.5 minutes left.
That's the whole point of the 2-minute drill.
Yeah, it was just bad coaching ruse today, and I say it every time we talk about football in important games because if your coaching and scheme suck, it doesn't matter who you have playing the damn game. Aaron Rodgers could be your quarterback, but if you have a coach like Mike McCarthy, you're not. Oh wait, that's actually what happened. You're not going to make the playoffs.
Fire.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's on your team if you don't put them in the position to execute and win. Because the other side, you know what they are? They're fucking professional football players too. It's not like they're just some scrub that they were like, hey, so you were a janitor at the hospital? Hey, do you want to go play linebacker right now?
I'm pretty sure that's what they did in Oakland.
That's true. That's true. They put out
New Orleans too.
They put,
open tryouts.
Gruden, do you know you're only playing with 10 men on each side of the ball? Yes, but that 11th is a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm. He's not here yet.
We're waiting. We're biding our time. I hope this works.
Sean Payne's all, you want to play receiver? Got you.
We'll make something work.
We'll file up the paperwork and then you get a catch with Drew Brees. How does that sound?
So,
bro, Des Bryant could win a Super Bowl ring without playing a snap.
Is he officially on the roster?
Oh yeah, he signed the contract and everything.
I think I don't know what exactly if they waived him or not, but I know they signed him, but. You know, if you get waived, it's not. I don't think you still get the ring.
I think so.
Okay, SB Nation does say Des Bryant might actually get a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
Okay, I think what happened is he tore his Achilles, and instead of waiving him, he's on the team's injured reserve. Mm-hmm. So he's still a part of the roster. He's still on the team.
So he could win a ring. Kareem Hunt can't win a ring. Wouldn't that be some wild shit?
They're just going to run it to him.
We're not going to tell nobody. You're not going to tell nobody. If you show somebody, say you stole it. Say you kicked it from somebody.
Sell it on eBay or some shit. Mm-hmm. So that was the wild card weekend, and it was a pretty wild one with only one home team winning. The Cowboys were the only home team that won.
Because we're actually good at home.
But
because it's indoors.
Coming into this weekend, all the home teams won. And other than a couple plays here and there, all of the home teams looked phenomenal. I don't think I'm going to start with the Sunday night game, which was the Saints. Somebody. Oh, they looked phenomenal. They looked
phenomenal when they were down 14-0.
So that's what I'm getting to is
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. I don't, because he hadn't played with Ted Ginn in 8 weeks. He'd been hurt. And I think he forgot how fast Ted Ginn was. Because Ted Ginn was like 3 yards past LeBlanc and had Drew Brees thrown the ball out more, put some more air under it.
It wouldn't have gotten picked.
It wouldn't have gotten picked, and it was a touchdown. Like, that was a touchdown right there. And Drew Brees underthrew it, and it got picked. And then the Eagles get some benefits of some. I think there was a pass interference on the next possession, and they looked ready, and they had a good game plan going, and they go and score. And then the next possession, the Saints just looked out of sync, and Drew Brees fumbles a snap, and they end up punting, and the Eagles come right back down and score, and it's 14-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. But then the Eagles didn't do anything the rest of the game. Nick Foles got pressured a little bit, had to move. It delayed the throw. And because Ertz was open, and just like with Breeze, Foles underthrows the ball by 3 yards, and it's picked off. And that interception that Foles threw in the first quarter, early second, whenever it was, changed the game. Because then the offense gets back out onto the field, they have some momentum, they're feeling it, and one, I was critical of the third down play because I wanted on third down, it was 3rd and 6. I wanted the Saints to put in Taysom Hill and run a little power option that they do with Taysom Hill and that have done all year. And it's worked 85% of the time. But instead, they decide, it ended up being, I think it was a 4th and 1 actually. I'm like, just put Taysom Hill in on third down and get the 1 yard. It's easy. But instead, they do something stupid on third down, and it makes it, and then they end up running that fake punt play with Taysom Hill running the ball for the 1 yard. You could have done that one play earlier and just relieved some stress. But no, we have to be Sean Payton, and
they had to do something to get Chopper style on.
And but the Eagles after the first quarter were shut down completely. No more points scored. And the only time they came close to getting points was the last drive of the game. That's how dominant the Saints defense was. Again, I'm pulling up the stats now because Nick Foles 201 yards passing for the game. 49 yards rushing for the game. That's 250 total yards of offense for an entire game in the playoffs.
Like, no bueno.
Yeah, you gonna.
And that includes the first possession was 76 yards for a touchdown. The second possession was 75 yards for a touchdown. That's 150 yards.
That's half of the yards right there.
The next drive that they had, 18 yards, 14 yards, 12 yards, -1 yard, but that was the end of half, Neil. 6 yards, 17 yards, 11 yards, and then the 31 yards was their last drive. The Saints' first drive of the second half, 18 plays, 92 yards, 11 and a half minutes long.
Yeah, we're just going to hold on to the ball for a little while.
Like there were 3 penalties on offense. There was a holding penalty. There were 2 holding penalties, and then there was a play for -4. They completed a 3rd and 16. They completed a 2nd and 20. And where is the other one? There was another one another long possession catch that they had. But they just, the other penalty was a false start. So 2 holding penalties and a false start, all on the same possession. And they ended up with a touchdown. And that gave them the lead, the first lead of the game for them. And they had some iffy calls down the stretch about trying to go for a 52-yarder with Will Lutz instead of just either trying to coffin corner it with Morstead or putting Drew Brees and Michael Thomas out there, because nobody was guarding Michael Thomas that game. But, again, other than the first few minutes of that game, the Saints handled their business and did what they needed to do. And that, an entire quarter was 1 possession.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. So the next game that we can discuss is going back to the Cowboys.
There you go.
This is another one team was ready, was schemed properly. Another team was coming off of a physical game, and I don't think they were ready for what the Rams were about to do. Because
they fucking ran all over them.
459 total yards, 186 passing. 459 total yards, 186 yards passing, which gives them 273 yards on the ground.
Yep. Sounds right.
Whereas on the other side, 308 total yards. The Rams almost had as many total yards as the Cowboys just by running the ball.
Sounds about right.
It was terrible. The Rams had the ball 13 minutes longer, which is essentially what the Saints did to the Eagles. They just said, all right, well, we're going to just hold the ball the entire game. And
can't play football without a ball.
Exactly. Can't score points if you don't have it. 1, 2, 3.
They couldn't even score when they had it.
Yeah. Just the first drive, that was it.
Dude, it looked so good that first drive. I was like, hell yeah, we're here.
They definitely did.
I was like, we ready. And then I saw the defense get on the field. I was like, we.
And then the first drive, that touchdown, and then punt, touchdown, turnover on downs, touchdown. And the Cowboys had their chance to get back in it too, which is crazy.
They lost by 1 possession.
But they almost got the ball back. And then 3rd and 7, they don't have a QB spy.
Nope.
And I'm so sick and tired of watching teams convert late in games on third down when the quarterback runs the ball because you don't have anybody just kind of spying him. Like, if you're going to think, okay, well, if they might run the ball, at least assign one guy to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets outside and breaks contain and makes the first down, and
The rest is history.
the Cowboys season is history.
Man.
But the Rams were the better team all year. They've been one of the best teams in football all year. The Cowboys, the fact that they actually got to this point, before the season, there were high hopes. Andrew had high hopes.
Shit.
But then, 6 weeks into the season, if somebody was like, hey, you're going to lose in it might not be super competitive, but you had a chance to get the ball late in the game to tie it up against the second best team in the conference, after winning a playoff game, like, if the scenario that ended up happening for the Cowboys, somebody told you 6 weeks into the season, you would have said, no fucking way. So now the Cowboys go into the offseason with a lot of question marks.
A big fucking question mark around Garrett.
And that question comes back into play. Are they going to move on from Jason Garrett?
You fucking ginger fuck.
Which I hope they do.
Jared Jones says he wants to bring back Garrett and Chris Richard.
Definitely Richard.
Yeah.
Definitely Richard.
Put a question mark on Garrett and Linehan.
But, hell, I'm to the point where, Rod Marinelli's I'll do whatever it takes to get to, keep Richard. Just promote him to the head coach.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Move Richard to defensive coordinator and hire a new offensive coordinator. Your head coach shouldn't really actually have to coach, per se, call plays or anything like that. What he should be able to, what your head coach should do is make sure that the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator are instilling a game plan that works with the personnel that you have, and you're keeping everybody accountable. Guess who doesn't call plays for their team? Offense or defense? Bill Belichick. Guess who's considered the greatest football coach in the history of the game? Bill Belichick. He lets Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss and Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia and all these guys, they're the ones calling the plays. They're the one that are putting together the game plans. And it gets approved by Belichick, but he's not. He's there to be the CEO. He's there to make sure that everybody shows up, and if somebody doesn't do their job, he's the one that's there to chew them out. He's the one there that says, hey, if you don't do it this way, I'm going to trade you, a la Chandler Jones. You want more money? All right, cool. There you go. Go to Arizona. So, Sean McVay is on a different level, because Sean McVay, on the other end of the spectrum, only calls offensive plays and only focuses on offense.
Just like Andy Reid.
That's all he does. He lets Wade Phillips take care of the defense, and his special teams coordinator take care of special teams. He's just all right, Wade, defense, he's the leader on defense. You listen to him, he's going to keep you accountable, and he trusts Wade Phillips to keep him accountable. Offensively, he keeps everybody accountable on offense. And while he still gets to say, hey, maybe that's not really working, he doesn't have to, because he knows he can trust Wade Phillips to kind of change things up, make a game plan, and put things into motion. So it allows his brilliant brain to formulate how he's going to run. I don't remember who tweeted it, but it might have been Michael Lombardi, who just wrote a book called Gridiron Genius. former GM in the league, and just really understands the game. I like listening to him on the Ringer NFL show. The Rams ran 10 different plays. Like, just 10 plays. That's all they ran against the Cowboys.
Yeah, there was double motion out of it and audible after the double motion.
Yeah, it's
confused them the whole entire
it's
game.
extremely simplistic, but it's yet still very complicated, and
Got the job done.
in it's like they can line up, and the Patriots do this too. It's like, we're going to run a 2 tight end set, 2 receivers, 1 running back. We might motion the tight end to the other side and have 2 tight ends and overload the right side or the left side, depending on what you have. But depending on what you're showing in coverage, Tom Brady's going to audible to a run play. He's like, all right, well, cool. You have 4 guys over there, 2 guys over here. I'm going to run the ball this way and pick up yards. Like, they understand. You get 5 yards on first or second down. That leaves you with a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, depending on what you do the other down, like, at minimum. It's understanding how simplistic the game is, but yet knowing that you can make things look complicated and still keep it simple, which sounds like a contradiction, but that's how McVay is, and that's how the Patriots are, and that's how the best teams are. Where you look at what the Saints do, and they do a lot of simple kind of base formations. Like, they don't run a lot of motions. They just say, all right, we're gonna run trips left, 1 tight end right, 1 running back. We're gonna run a little wheel route with the running back, a curl with the tight end, a go route with this receiver, and these 2 are gonna run slants. And the way that they execute it, and the quarterback they have executing it, allows them to just kind of say, all right, well, we're just going to go down and spend 12 minutes on the field because we can just run these simple things, and if this option's covered, we'll take the next option. If that option's covered, we'll take the next one. We have time. We can do it. We can adjust. It's not difficult. When teams start make things more difficult, that's when you don't see the success. And the Cowboys made things more difficult on themselves, and were outclassed almost the entire game. So that wraps up the Cowboy season. Y'all's last take on the Cowboy season: success, not a success.
No success. It's all a success if you win a Super Bowl.
I guess you were actually like a teenager in the 90s when they were winning Super Bowls.
I was.
Weren't you like early 20s, 90s?
Nah.
Man, I was already balding.
Y'all gotta hop off the age, man.
But I mean, for most of my life,
it was a success, but it was disappointing.
It's like the Cowboys have not been a successful team.
Always ends in a disappointment. Always ends in a disappointment.
Well, it's just disappointing because we still got to deal with fucking Garrett.
That's where I would say it's not a success, because you didn't succeed in getting your coach fired.
Our goal should have been to get him fired.
Just tank to get him fired.
Pretty much. Yeah. Dak Prescott should have just should have looked at Jason Garrett and just made a throw right to the defender.
Just show up as show up as the defensive end.
It just points at him like, yeah, that was for you, bitch.
Start clapping off the...
Just pray hands and point to the sky for him.
Clap all the way to the sidelines.
Yeah,
start clapping in his face. Yeah.
So those 2 games were the closer games of the 4. Which blowout do you want to cover first? Do you want to go Chargers Patriots or Chiefs Colts? Y'all's pick.
I mean, there's really not much to say about either of them. The two teams that lost didn't look like the two teams that won the week before.
Yes, exactly.
Those weren't the teams from last week. Like that's.
But the Chiefs came out and just popped them in the mouth and they just
14 spot straight up.
They were like, look, we're just you're not gonna stop us. If they wanted to, they probably could have put up like 45 points.
And the Chargers tried having a staring contest with the GOAT, and the GOAT fucking headbutt him.
Like, the crazy thing to me is, like, when I watched that game, I walked away from it thinking that Tom Brady had kind of just, like, an all-right game, and then you go and look at the stats, and you're like, 34 for 44, 343 yards, which is a 7.8 average, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks, 87.2 QBR, and a 106.5 rating. You're like, that is a very, very good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you see the video that he posted on Instagram the day after?
About with the 50 Cent quote or whatever?
He had many men playing in the background. He was in the gym He was in the gym working out to many men.
But
can you talk about self-awareness right now? He's like, let's fucking get it.
So I
was like,
I think
shit.
The Chargers are a much more talented team than the Patriots.
Yes.
Much more talented.
Not in Foxborough, though.
But on the road, second week in a row, which
even though they did really good on the road this year.
Yeah, I know. But I think their problem was they went to Baltimore, played in a physical game against a physical team, and then they flew back to the West Coast, and then they flew back to the East Coast.
Yeah, they should have stayed.
They should have just said, all right, look, we're not going home until the Super Bowl. Like, we're not going home until after the conference championship.
Exactly what would have happened, too.
Like,
no, you know what? Phillip Rivers wouldn't have done that. He's got too many kids. He ain't going. He can't be gone for a month.
He got like 17 babies.
Come on.
I think if Anthony Lynn would have said, like, Phillip Rivers should have been the one that said, like, because he's the leader of the team. He's the most experienced guy, along with Antonio Gates. He's led that team to a conference championship. I can't remember if it was a conference championship or the same divisional round where he was playing on a torn ACL. Like, Phillip Rivers has...
Oh, it was a couple years ago.
07.
Yeah, it was a while back.
07.
It was 07. It was 12 years ago.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
But it was a couple years ago.
It's a couple.
Phillip Rivers probably has the most say on that team, more so than their
aside from
coaches.
Ownership that had to move.
Yeah. that's a right out there.
Almost got him.
His head shook with, wait, hold on. Bring the demons out of me.
But Phillip Rivers and Anthony Lynn should have pretty much done what Sean Payton did, where he was like, here's the Lombardi trophy, and here's a stack of cash. Like, this is what we're playing for. Now go win 3 fucking games.
But they don't have a Lombardi trophy.
Right. What they should have done is they should have gotten team meeting after the Baltimore win, or even before the playoffs even started. They should have said, we were 12-4 this year. There's no reason why we should be a 5 seed, but we are, and we have 3 road games ahead of us before the Super Bowl. We're not going home until the week before the Super Bowl. We're going to stay. Pack your bags as much as you can.
We'll buy some more clothes.
Yeah, the professional athletes, you can afford some clothes.
I'm on a rookie contract.
Where, like, the owner should have even said, "I will pay for your hotel room." Like, we don't need to fly back and Like, just stay on the road, and I think it would have done them a lot better.
Especially, like, you're in Baltimore, New England, right there.
Right. You're in Baltimore, and you're playing in 40-degree weather, and then you go back to Los Angeles and practice in perfect weather, and then you go and fly and play in 20-degree weather. Imagine if they would have stayed in New York City, and they would have played, like, gone and practiced at, like, let's say they go and practice at, like, Syracuse. And they go practice in those elements the entire week, and they get prepared for that team and stay on the road. I'm pretty sure if Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were in that same situation, they would have told the team, we're not coming back home. We're staying on the road for 3 weeks, and we're going to make it to the Super Bowl because of it. They played it like a team that was tired, not ready.
They probably were fucking tired. Probably jet lagged.
I forget what the stat is.
They took the red eye.
There's a statistic for West Coast teams playing on the East Coast at the 1:00 Eastern game.
Aren't they like winless?
Yeah, they're if they're not winless, it's like 1-15 in the last like 4 years in the playoffs. They didn't do what they needed to do, because if they did, like if they didn't make mental errors, they win that game. They were down 28-7. It seems like everything is going the Patriots' way. It's like they're about to blow you off the field, and you force a punt. There's 3 minutes left in the half. If you score that possession, let's say you only score a field goal and go into half down 28-10, you get the ball first. Now, it's only an 18-point game, which is, yeah, it's still 3 possessions, but you have an entire half to make up 18 points. 2 touchdowns and a field goal and 30 minutes of football. You can probably make that happen. But if you score a touchdown, it's 28-14. That's a 2-touchdown game. Instead, they have the muffed punt, and it's the other end of that muffed punt is another thing that I always see Patriots do, and very few other people in the playoffs do. It's almost like the David Tyree helmet catch or the Mario Manningham toe tap on the sideline from Eli Manning in the 2 Super Bowls, where you very rarely do you see teams play against the Patriots where they make some miraculous play. It's usually the Patriots that are making some incredible play. I don't know who recovered the muffed punt, but he was diving full speed out of bounds. And y'all seen plenty of fumbles in football, right? How many times have you seen a guy dive on a football and it hit him and just shoot off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. This guy dives on a football, all his momentum going out of bounds, is able to grab the ball with both hands, secure it, and hold them back from touching the sideline so that he possesses the ball in the field of play. Like, that in itself is an incredible fumble recovery that just followed a bonehead all-pro muffed punt that only happens against the Patriots for whatever reason. I have no idea what this is. I don't know why it just seems to happen that way, but it's like... It's almost like every time I watch the Patriots in the playoffs, I'm expecting some sort of Leon Lett type bonehead play from the other team. Like that's the I'm expecting the team that's playing the Patriots to try to run like just a regular run play, and it ends up being like a butt fumble type play. Just something like that is going to happen, and it's going to allow the Patriots to either get back in the game or ice the game. And in this instance, it iced the game because now it's 35-7 going into half, and it's just over. And it's that play, that punt play ends the game. Because I mean, I kind of stopped fully focusing on that game, so I don't really know how the second half went as far as the Patriots go, but they scored 6 points in the second half. They scored 35 in the first half, 6 points in the second. Sony Michel was a monster. 24 carries, 129 yards. James White, 15 receptions, 97 yards. Julian Edelman, 9 receptions, 151 yards. Those 3 guys were the game. Because Gronk had the 1 play, 1 target, broke a couple tackles, got 25 yards. And then Philip Dorsett got the 1 passing touchdown from Brady. That was off of a broken coverage because the DBs, 2 of the 7 defensive backs that the Chargers trotted out there didn't communicate what they were doing properly. So, like, the Patriots looked very impressive, but I can't say I walked away from that game feeling like they were the better team. Even though they blew out the Chargers, I watched a lot of Patriots football and I watched a lot of Chargers football this year, mainly because I hate the Patriots more than anything else, and the Chargers were my Super Bowl pick. So I have a lot invested in those 2 teams this season. And on both mental, like, emotional sides of the coin with like, come on, Chargers, and I hate you, Tom Brady. So, like, I know that the Chargers played out of character and Patriots played in character, but I still didn't feel like the Patriots did anything more than just capitalize on the Chargers' boneheadness. That was my big takeaway from that. And then, yeah, the Chiefs ran just all over the Colts. There was the same thing with the Chargers with the muff punt. Like, you're this close to just staying in the game and keeping it close and maybe, like, wiggling out of the trouble you started early for yourself. And with the Chargers, it was the muff punt. With the Colts, it was not converting late in the half and Adam Vinatieri missing that kick.
He missed like 2 kicks, didn't he?
He did end up missing 2 kicks. But the one at the end of the first half would have made it that 14-point game going into half. And instead, you miss the kick and it's still 24-7 going into half. And it's just on the road, going down 17, like, when you hadn't shown anything as far as moving the ball or stopping anybody, or it was just not a very well played game for the Colts. So now, conference championship, 1-2. Saints, Rams, rematch, Superdome. Patriots, Chiefs, rematch, Arrowhead. Both games were incredible. The Patriots-Chiefs game, I believe, was 43-40, maybe 41.
Something like that.
But now, instead of it being in Foxborough, it's at Arrowhead. There's so much to play with there as far as narrative, because you have the rematch, you have the young up-and-comer probable MVP, you have all of Andy Reid's struggles in playoffs and time management, but you have all the Patriots' road failures this year. They have not been a good road team at all. I think they were 3-5 on the road, actually. I believe that's right.
Our Cowboys was just as bad on the road.
And then with the Saints Rams, you have you have 3 of the top 5 offensive minds in football in this upcoming weekend. What Andy Reid has been doing for years, what Sean Payton has been doing for years, and what McVay has been doing since he took over the Rams, just completely incredible. And I've talked enough about Bill Belichick over the last year to probably never have to talk about his greatness again for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm still going to talk about him, but he's been so good at getting that team ready to play, better than any other
coach.
Any other coach. Like, that's just how it's been. Let's talk about what is y'all's one thing that y'all are looking for in this weekend's games, or if you want to take one thing from each game and kind of what is the key point, Alvin, for you this weekend? Like, what are you watching for the most?
What I'm going to be watching for is who's going to make the stop at the right time and who's going to make the big play at the right time. Because pretty much that's what it came down to when those teams played against each other in a regular season.
I mean, so to be fair, the Saints got quite a lucky break against the Rams in their game, because their key stop that you were alluding to, like that's what it came down to, is the Saints were getting a key stop or making a key play. It was a 4th and 1, and the Saints faked a punt or faked a field goal. Mm-hmm. And I'm 95% sure that their kicker crossed the yard line that he needed to for a first down. But I don't think they could review it, and so they left it the call on the field and gave the ball back to the Saints. And I believe the next possession for the Saints, they hit the 70-yarder to Michael Thomas. So had the refs got the call right, that probably flips what happens in that game. The Saints might still end up winning, but that Michael Thomas play doesn't happen, or whatever it was after that, because it gave the Saints quite a significant lead after that, and they were able to hold off the Rams. But I just wanted to point that out because some people might try to call me a homer, but I try not to be. I try not to be a homer and give credit where credit's due and blame where blame is due and blame is deserved. And it's like if I watch the Spurs and they get the benefit of a travel, I'm going to say that was a travel. I'm going to be excited about the result, but I'm still going to tell you, yeah, we got away with an offensive foul or a travel or whatever. The Saints got away with one. I'm happy about the result, but the Saints got away with one in that game, I think. So both games here just gonna be super cliche. Who's gonna make the big play? The big play, and who's gonna make the big stop?
Because they're both gonna be shootouts again.
But what if one team makes a big play and the other team makes a big stop? Which one is gonna outweigh the other?
And then we'll find out what happens when unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
That's just the way the ball rolls sometimes. Ball bounces.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
We're going out there and we're gonna just try really hard and give it our all, and if we win or if we lose, we played our best. That's my Andrew Luck impersonation.
We left it all out on the field.
I just love these guys that I'm playing with.
You gotta add some more to the voice.
I feel like if I just talk normal, like I need to talk normal with a deeper voice.
Deeper voice and a little bit more broken up.
I'll work on it.
He's gonna be sitting here listening to Andrew Luck interviews. Oh.
Rewind.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in front of the microphone, recording myself, playing that back.
Oh, yeah, that's. Let's go to the table.
No, I need more nasal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Beavis. Andrew, what are you looking for in these games? What is?
I'm looking for the score, man.
Yeah, I feel they're all going to be shootouts.
Yeah, this is gonna be a high scoring round.
You know what happens when we expect shootouts, right?
Never happens.
I mean, other than the game of the century, I feel like that was a misnomer.
But we got the top 2 candidates for MVP playing inside. That's destined to be a shootout.
Well,
wait. Yeah, no, still.
Arrowhead's outside.
No, I was talking about the
Gurley.
no.
Goff.
Yes.
Goff is an MVP candidate.
No, I know. I got that mixed up. No. There you go.
Yeah, you have.
You got Goff and Breeze are playing inside. Breeze is another player when he's at home. Really,
Every dome quarterback is a different player in a dome. It's just like
Peyton
Manning was a different player in the dome than he was outside.
that's why he disqualified from the game.
Other than he did win a Super Bowl in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
In the second year that he was in, or the third year he was in Denver when his arm started falling apart. That doesn't really count, but
that fucking counts.
But no, his first season in Denver, he broke every offensive record, and he was playing 8 games in Denver.
And he got punched in the mouth in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't. People are like, yeah, they got punched in the mouth. Yeah, because first play from scrimmage,
He fucking heard those footsteps coming.
No, the center snapped it over his head.
Oh,
how do you snap it over Peyton Manning's head? His neck is like 2 feet tall.
Didn't Welker just
that
stop
was
playing?
before surgery.
Oh, okay.
Didn't Welker just stop playing after he got hit by Kim Chancellor?
Yeah. Demarius Thomas, too.
He laid down and they left him there for the fucking rest of the game.
Welker was never seen after that, bro.
They put those caution wet floor signs around him. Just, hey, be careful here.
No, Chancellor came through here.
But no, Demarius Thomas did the same thing. Like, he got hit by Cam, and then the rest of the game, he would go across the middle and he would, like, shy away from the ball.
Yeah.
He still ended up breaking, at that time, the Super Bowl record for receptions. Manning broke the record for Super Bowl completions, but...
Well, every time you run in the slant and diving, every time you catch it, anyway, trying to...
It was just like... but... Manning threw 2 interceptions. Both were deflected passes. One was deflected at the line, popped up, intercepted. The other one was he was getting hit from behind and the ball floated up and got intercepted. It wasn't like his interception against the Saints in the Super Bowl where Tracy Porter intercepted it, pick 6. That was Peyton Manning, Reed actually throwing the ball to the spot. And great play by the cornerback. But that's an interception that I'm like, yeah, that's on the quarterback. But when a quarterback throws an interception because it's deflected at the line, I'm like, that was a great play by the defensive lineman. If he didn't deflect it, that's probably a completion. But instead it's deflected, it's an interception. And it goes down as a bad play for the quarterback. But, you're making the right play. You have to throw the ball to a certain spot to be able to make that completion, and then like J.J. Watt just jumps up and deflects it. Like you can't do anything as a quarterback because that's where the ball needed to go and needed to be thrown at that time, or else you're getting sacked. You might fumble, like other things.
Why don't you just do what like Patrick Mahomes does and not look that way? Maybe throw with your left hand like Kobe.
Except he doesn't throw slant passes.
No, he doesn't have to.
He throws sidearms though.
He does what he does to Aaron Rodgers. He's the school of Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, where he's gonna wait, and then he's gonna roll out, and then he's going to be like, okay, cool, now the play's broken down, and I'll make something happen.
Now we're in the schoolyard.
But when have you ever seen Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees do that? Very rarely do they say, oh shit, this play's broken down, let me do something with my legs.
Because they came from Cambridge.
Tom Brady does that.
Rarely.
Drew Brees does it.
Rarely.
But they do it.
Peyton Manning did it too. Not very often, but he did it too.
He knew better. Clunky ass fucking cement feet just... Saw that target on his forehead and just like, damn.
Him and Eli, watch Peyton and Eli scramble, and it's It's hilarious.
There's no grace.
No. It looks like a baby deer trying to.
It looks like a fucking train wreck. You can't help but look at it, just like, oh shit.
It's like Austin Powers. Like, we don't run like that in my family.
Well, I'm gonna just knock out my one key thing. It is like you said, looking for the offense. I'm opposite side of the ball. I'm gonna be looking at the defense. Can one of the teams in each game hold the other under 24 points?
What's the over under on takeaways?
I don't know.
For between the two games, what would you set it at?
Two.
Two takeaways, one for each game.
Yeah. Oh, like total?
Yeah,
4.
Yeah, I was there for
2 for each game.
2 for each game, and I would probably bet the under.
I would say 2 for the both games and take the under.
Yeah, but it's probably like 3.5, something like that. Because
those half points, 2.5.
But well, because you have to say, okay, well, over is 3, under is 2.
Yeah, no, I know how it works.
I'm a betting man.
Because all 4 teams have some sort of talent on defense.
It's gonna come down to avoiding that.
Like that's like the Saints. The Saints' weakness is their pass defense, but they're actually a really talented defensive back group, especially since they traded for Eli Apple.
Yeah.
So that you can have Lattimore follow. Like this is the key matchup. Brandon Cooks and who's going to guard Brandon Cooks.
Better be Lattimore.
Because I don't think it should be Lattimore. I think you play Eli Apple in like a slot where he's trying to follow. Eli Apple needs to be guarding the Robert Woods, the tight end Higbees and Reynolds, those guys. That's who Eli Apple should be guarding. I think that they should be putting like a PJ Williams, like one, because I don't think whoever their fastest defensive back is.
I was just about to say.
And I don't think that's Lattimore. I think that's PJ Williams. He should be the one guarding Brandon Cooks.
I think that's probably splitting hairs.
And yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see who Sean Payton and Dennis Allen decide is going to be guarding Brandon Cooks. Because if Eli Apple is matched up on Brandon Cooks, Sean McVay is going to see it, and he's going to say, Brandon Cooks, run like the kid in The Incredibles.
Burn you.
Dash.
Yeah, I know Dash. For the listeners who might not know who Dash is,
he's a superhero.
He got superpowers.
just run straight down the field. Just run as fast as you can straight down the field.
He said, the kid from The Incredibles. You mean Dash?
So I think that'll be an interesting matchup because
You get the Saints too.
The Saints have the second best rush defense on the season, and the Cowboys did not have the number one. You said that I think you were saying that last week or one of the last times we recorded. You were like the Cowboys had the number one rush defense. It was the Texans that had the number one rush defense.
I did?
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn it was the Cowboys.
At one point
it probably was.
Just not this week, it wasn't.
It definitely wasn't this
fucking
week.
stupid. Got whatever they wanted.
But yeah, Saints have the second best rush defense. They did a really good job in the first matchup with limiting Todd Gurley. And unfortunately, their second best defensive lineman tore his Achilles this last game in Sheldon Rankins. So they picked up somebody to try to replace him, but like Sheldon Rankins is really, really
They
good.
picked up a gender.
Like it's they have to. Hopefully they can work it to where it actually stays at the level it was. But with the Rams having C.J. Anderson on this resurgent trail and Todd Gurley being the best running back in football and Sean McVay being one of the best offensive minds in football, like that defense is going to have a test. And hopefully, on the other side of the ball, the Saints just still make Michael Thomas the best wide receiver in football. But Talib is back. He didn't play the first matchup. So they put Peters on Thomas all game. And Sean Payton talked that shit, as Marcus Peters was saying after the game. But you saw that, right? Where Sean Payton was like, yeah, I like that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And then Peters went off in the locker room.
Talk that shit. See me later.
We'll go get some gumbo. Did y'all see Marcus Peters and Amari Cooper getting into it?
Oh, yeah.
After the game?
After the game. I didn't see that, no.
Yeah. Cooper came up to Peters and shoved Peters, and they got into they almost got into a little brawl after the game.
Well, they were doing it in the game.
Right. Yeah, I know. It was all game long.
That's what led to that touchdown.
So, Andrew, who are the two teams winning?
Kansas City and New Orleans.
Alvin?
I got the same.
I'm not picking, so
What?
I'm not.
He's prohibited from picking right now. He can't jinx.
I'm not doing it.
Oh,
I'm not doing it. Well, on both games, because I don't want to pick.
He doesn't want to jinx the Saints, and he doesn't want the Patriots to make it.
That's so I'm not gonna make my pick.
but we know
y'all know.
He just went full Windhorse on us.
Y'all know who I'm rooting for.
I'm not making predictions.
Yeah.
Y'all know who I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to make that prediction.
He's predicting like 43-35 Saints.
So let's wrap
He doesn't
up.
want to put that in the universe. Like, I'm not going to put that.
Let's wrap up the podcast with the Fire, Dyer, and Prophecies, like we always do. It's been a while, so it's like we could almost be like, all right, who's been your fire for the last month and a half? Because that's pretty much my fire. Because my fire, James Harden, been on fire.
Literally.
Fire.
He's a fire that lifts up the rockets.
He is the jet propulsion system.
He's the one that powered SpaceX.
He is just on a torrid pace right now.
Trying to get that back to back.
It's 17 straight games of 30 points, including one game where he went 1 for 17 from 3 and still put up 38 points. He had like 6 or 7 straight games of 38 points or more. He had 3 40-point triple doubles in 6 games. It's just what he's doing is absolutely absurd.
That's what I was mentioning. Was it the 3 straight games with 50 points or more now?
You want to talk about absurd right now? It's got an update in the Warriors. Talk about absurd. Warriors scored 51 points in the first quarter.
They saw what Philly did.
51 in the first quarter.
I guess who?
I don't fucking know. Apparently nobody.
Denver. Yeah, but to be fair, they scored 51. They gave up 38. It wasn't like it was 51 to 20.
Yeah, that's still fucking 51 points in one quarter.
The 76ers scored 149 points.
Welcome to the NBA.
Hey,
yes.
The Spurs last Thursday against the Warriors, the Thunder, scored 154.
Yeah.
It was the most points in Popovich, Popovich era. It was also the most points that the Spurs have scored in like the last 35 years.
I think since like fucking Dave was playing.
They scored 154 in the double overtime game. The 76ers just put up 149 in regulation. The Atlanta Hawks put up 142 on the Thunder in regulation. The Pacers put up 131 in regulation. And then the Warriors have 69 points with half of the second quarter to go.
Welcome to the new NBA.
Mm-hmm.
All offense, no defense.
Well, you're not allowed to play defense.
So the averages have actually regressed to the norm, where it's still right around the same that it's been.
Except those 130s, 160s.
But every now and then you have a night where a team just catches fire from three, and that's where I would say
KD went 7 for 7.
Welcome to the new NBA. Welcome to the new NBA, where it's like one game you're going to have a team that shoots 53s and hits 20 of them. That's 60 points right there.
Pretty soon, every NBA team is going to be
nothing but threes.
Yeah, 6'11" forwards that know how to dribble and shoot the ball.
Shoot the three.
I wouldn't say that's pretty soon. That's probably still another like 25 years away.
I don't know about that.
No, that's like happening, bro.
KD.
Yeah. There's no
how
true
many
centers.
How many guys in the NBA can do that right now?
What?
Kevin Durant,
Brandon Ingram.
Freak.
Giannis.
He can't shoot threes.
Oh,
He's
we're talking
shooting
about threes. I was just talking about like
I thought that's what you said,
6'11".
shooting threes.
6'11" can handle the ball.
And you said shoot the ball.
Shoot.
You said shoot the ball. I said threes.
Okay, but so we'll put Greek Freak in there, and we'll put Ben Simmons in there.
Yeah.
Name others. I have 4 right now.
Porzingis.
5,
How tall is the Joker?
7.
Cat, he's done it a couple times.
Right. And Anthony Davis. DeMarcus Cousins. So we're at 9 guys right now. Do you know how many guys are in the NBA?
Well, yeah, I know that.
There are 30 teams, and they each field a 15-man roster.
Yep, and pretty soon they're all going to be...
That's 450 players, and we have 9 guys who can do it. So you're saying pretty soon we're going to have another 441 guys that can do it that are 6...
But think about actual teams, though.
But, so... I mean, Chris Middleton, and I would say what we are going to see...
Dirk was doing it.
What? Handling the ball.
He handled it wrong.
He handled it.
He handled what he needed to.
But what we're going to see is we're going to see the 6'6" to 6'11" guys. 6'6" is going to be the minimum to be in the NBA. At some point.
6'3" is not going to cut it no more.
But that you have to be extremely, extremely good at something. That's what my NBA goal was, based off of me being an extremely good shooter. And if I wanted to make it to the NBA, I ended up having to be an extremely rare athlete, like a Nate Robinson kind of athlete.
A typical white man dream.
And that was...
Would be a really good shooter.
Steve Kerr.
From the corner. Make it rain.
but that was the thing, is at my height, you have to be
Jewish,
so good at one. I had to be able to jump 42, have a 42-inch vertical. I had to be able to run a 40 and 4.25, 4.3, and I needed to be able to bench press 225 20 times. Just for somebody my height to be able to make it to the NBA.
To stand out a bit.
That sounded like Nate Robinson.
Right, exactly. I was you have to be such a ridiculous athlete at 5'9", 5'10" to make it into the NBA. That you see guys who are 6 feet, they have to be that same thing now. Steph Curry is 6'3", 6'4". I think he might be listed at 6'4", but you don't you look at as Spurs fans, look at our 2 guards that we're using right now, not including Derek White, but Bryn Forbes and Patty Mills. Those 2 guys we can't rely on to be our starting point guard or starting shooting guard in this league, because when we go and face the Monstars out in Golden State, their starting point guard is 5 inches taller than Patty Mills, and their 2 guard is 6'8". That's just the nature of the beast. Is the NBA is not suited for guys shorter than 6'1". And it's really suited right now for guys 6'6" to 7 feet and who are athletic and those freaks that we talk about.
Don Maker?
But he's not as good as these other guys. But he can
Not
do
yet.
it.
Not yet.
But Bol. But yeah, that's
I'll show you that clip of his shot. It's wetty.
oh, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's ready.
Bobo?
My favorite name in basketball,
Bowl. 2 times.
other than Zion.
Zion. Jesus Christ.
Like Zion is who I'm talking about for the future of the NBA.
Zion is you can't compare him to anybody. He's fucking 6'8", 300 pounds. And
Right.
has that stupid vertical and moves so smooth.
But that's what I'm talking about. Is like
butter.
Those RJ, like the 3 guys on that team are all 6'8",
He puts
220
no effort
plus,
into
and like just
and is a monster.
they're tall and can do a lot of different things on the court.
He puts no effort in 360.
So
He puts no effort in. He makes it look so easy. Like, oh, I could fucking do that. Do a 360 dunk from the free throw line. Ha! Zion can do it. He weighs 300 pounds.
do y'all remember? Was it James White? The guy who played in Atlanta, the Spurs had him a little bit. He was the dunk contest champion in college because he was doing between the legs from the free throw line dunks.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that kid.
He was a lefty. I thought he was going to be like so good in the NBA, and then he was Ben Simmons without the ball handling ability and passing ability.
Just athleticism.
Could not shoot. Couldn't really handle the ball. He could defend and rebound.
And jump real high.
Moving on, because that fire took a while. Alvin, who's on fire for you?
I'm just going to say Syracuse over Duke. That was actually a real good game.
Oh, did Syracuse end up winning?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the outcome, but I knew
It was really big news. It was all over Twitter.
I was so busy today.
Duke was getting roasted on Twitter.
I saw that Syracuse hit like long distance 3 that at the buzzer at half that put them down 1 at half, and that's the last thing that I saw about that game.
I think it went into overtime this game.
Duke is going to need to get Cam Reddish going if they're going to win the title this year, because he's been playing terrible. That was a nice little laugh track. We need to. Eventually, I'm going to have the little buttons and start playing random samples of things.
Don't give it to me. I'm going to have a fucking field day with it. Air horns all day. Fucking fart noises.
Andrew, who's on fire for you?
Clemson football, they love their fucking McDonald's, dog.
My Lord. I was going to put them as dire.
I thought you was going to say because Future wants to throw them a fucking celebration party.
Well, no, because they actually really loved it. According to
Future?
Trevor Lawrence, he can't wait till next year. TMZ interviewed Trevor Lawrence after the game. He's just like, "Yeah, that was fucking great. I loved McDonald's." He's like, "I can't wait for next year." He's like, "We'll be back a couple more times." I was like, I mean, come on now. I'm totally. I fussed with McDonald's. I saw everyone post hating. I was like, give me some fucking nuggets with some signature sauce. Straight.
When I think people love to hate Trump, me included.
Yeah.
But it's also, what is Trump known for? Money. Putting gold everywhere. Fucking thinks he's King Midas. And he's going to be like, hey, y'all don't actually make any money. Y'all can this is probably the only stuff that you could afford outside of, the meals that your team pays for and what you're given in your scholarship as far as going into the the dorm cafeteria and getting lunch food, like cafeteria food.
Y'all would appreciate this.
But we're just gonna give you McDonald's instead of giving you something like good. Like we're not going. I mean, some people were saying steak. I'm like, no, you don't need to do steak. But come on, like bump it up to some like shrimp cocktail or some shit. Like
Shrimp cocktail.
I want some duck.
Like these guys are from South Carolina. Get some like good old shrimp and grits and cornbread in there, and get some good Southern cuisine, and just blow it out.
They about to get some real Southern cuisine. Future's gonna host that celebration party.
It's gonna be all like prime rib, some mashed potatoes, garlic roasted mashed potatoes.
Garlic mashers.
Gonna walk in there and Martha Stewart and Snoop are gonna be smoking a joint together while she's fixing up food. Well, Andrew, who's your dyer then?
Fuck, who was my dyer?
I don't fucking know.
Shit, who do I got here? I got the Lakers struggling without LeBron. They lost 7 of their last 10.
You know this is the conspiracy theory, right?
You know LeBron isn't playing because he's about to see. He's seeing how they perform without him, so he's taking his notes.
Right, and he's gonna be like, we can trade him, and him.
Fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck him.
Lonzo, you're cool.
Lance is automatically gone.
I always hated him.
He still thinks it's funny. He blew on my ear.
But since you brought up the Patriots conspiracy theory, this is the LeBron conspiracy theory. It's we have to be really bad when LeBron's out, so when he comes back healthy and we start winning
He's
again,
the savior.
He's the savior, and people are going to start putting him in the James Harden Greek Freak MVP conversation. And when we end up being the 2 seed, fulfilling Casey's preseason pick,
The only thing you had right there was the savior part.
Yeah.
but
Then you went off like
You went off the deep end on that one.
I had to just spin it to where I could make my joke.
so you could win.
That's that QAnon conspiracy theory.
That was my stand up comedy. Like I had to set the joke up so then I could land the perfect punchline there.
I had a joke. I came up with a joke the other day. It was hilarious. It's super terrible, but it was pretty gold.
I love terrible jokes. Yeah, you got to go.
We were talking about all the Me Too shit. We're talking about like, well, you know, there's women that got charged with rape, but no one ever talks about them. And comparing the rapist to the racist. I was like, what do you think was which is worse? I don't know. I can't really tell either one. I was like, which one would you rather be? Well, I think I'd rather be the racist. I was like, I don't know. I think I'd rather be the rapist. Because either way, you're going to get hated. But the rapist still gets some.
At least you get in the punit.
Yeah. I mean, jokes are jokes to me. It's like I might not actually believe what I say, but I'm going to just try to make somebody laugh or make myself laugh. I'm like, it's a sentence. It's a word, and if you're going to get offended by a word that I say, that's on you for taking it offensively. Like I don't mean it offensively.
I love those jokes. I think I heard one.
So mine that I always think back to is when the hurricane hit Puerto Rico. And they're, you know, a lot of them are still without power, and you know that whole tragedy that's going on there. But I was working at Starbucks, and I made a black tea, and I'm going out to hand it to a regular. And I mean, if you've seen black tea, it kind of looks like dirty water. And so I wanted to make a joke and says, "Here's your Puerto Rican water."
I heard one a while back. It was great. It was right after the Anthony Bourdain, after he offed himself.
Yeah.
I forgot who. I think it was Joey Diaz said the joke, and he was talking about Doug Stanhope. And they're talking about it. And it's like, I was never really a fan of Anthony Bourdain. I was like, what? How could you not be a fan of him? He's like, I mean, I think that's the only thing that him and I had in common, because he didn't really like himself either. That's fucking great.
Okay, well, we got to tie this back into sports.
Open mic's over.
One last little tidbit on comedy, stand-up comedy, brings it back into sports. I went and saw Daniel Tosh in Houston, and he's from Florida. He's a big Miami Heat fan, Miami Dolphins fan, and so he's talking about LeBron James, and like he's talking basketball. And when he brings up LeBron James, the whole Houston crowd boos him. And he's like, why the fuck are you booing LeBron James? He's a great basketball player. And then he pauses for a second, and he just kind of, under his breath, but, into the mic so everybody hears him, fuck Olajuwon. I'm dying. The rest of Houston is like about to rage.
Hell yeah.
Okay. You better run.
Yep.
So, Alvin, who's your dyer? Let's finish this up.
Oh, that was been Tosh, but Dennis Smith Jr.
Trade rumors.
Last year, he was the hot first-round pick. He did decent.
Yes, he's in dire straits. That's why he's on your line. I understand that. But I think it's good for him and good for the Mavs. Because one, the Mavs just drafted a guy that plays the same position that you do and is 200 times better.
Way better, yes.
That you don't fit a need, and his trade value is still going to be pretty high. That you might be able to get somebody like a Kent Bazemore from Atlanta who would pair really well with Doncic. Bazemore's probably a little lower down the tadpole that you want, or totem pole. Tadpole.
Tadpole.
Fuck Tatum pole.
Totem tadpole.
Tadpole.
But yeah, he was a rookie last year. He's still only 20 years old, and the sky's the limit for him still. And
the rumors is that the Suns is interested in him. If that happens, I'm like, good luck. R.I.P.
They've tried the 3-point guard thing.
Yeah.
And they got rid of the best one. My dyer is the Celtics. They've lost 3 straight after their arguably best win of the season over Indiana. Lost to Miami, Orlando, and then Brooklyn. And
Brooklyn fans straight up get them dirty too. With the Kyrie's gonna leave you.
I had Brad Stevens as coach of the year, and I think it's going to take Danny Ainge to make he has to make. I think they have to make a roster move because they're so deep. But I don't think Brad Stevens has really grasped who they need to play and what he needs to do with the talent they have. Because they have Jaylen Brown coming off the bench and Marcus Smart coming off the bench, who could be starters for over half the league. And I just feel like there's no team chemistry because everybody's I should be starting, I should be scoring 20 a game, and
everybody developed the ego after last season.
And so it's almost to the point where I feel like Gordon Hayward is kind of the guy they need to get rid of.
He's going full
Gordon, or try to
full Kevin Love,
or try to find a team that will take on Kyrie, because Kyrie is also he's the Jimmy Butler in this situation, where you've already seen that Kyrie is a me first kind of person.
Is he yelling at the players saying they fucking need him?
No, he's not doing that yet. But he was yelling at Gordon Hayward, and he was yelling at the coaches, and he is saying he's not committing long term to Boston, and I'm thinking of more when he was with Cleveland still, and he was like, hey, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get traded. I'm tired of all this. Trade me, and kind of sparked that whole controversy where he's obviously being a diva, and like that's kind of who he's become, where he's like, I should be getting compared to the best point guards in the league. Like when people think of Steph Curry, they should be saying, oh well, Kyrie's, almost his equal, or in Kyrie's mind,
better.
He's better or his equal. So Kyrie needs to get his shit together. The Celtics need to get their shit together because they were the prime pick to make the finals. Now, prophecies. I always like to go off the board a little bit when big things in other sports are going on. So right now we have the Australian Open, the first tennis major tournament of the year. Novak Djokovic is the number 1 seed, and he plays Joe Wilfried Tsonga in the next round, and then he'll probably play a young Canadian, Shapovalov, in the next round, and he is going to lose to one of those two guys, and he will be upset by the 4th round of the Australian Open. So that's my prophecy. Had to give a little shout out there. Andrew, what's your prophecy?
My prophecy is Tom Brady will not be walking out of the game after getting hit with snowballs.
By a car?
Snowballs.
I'm saying it's gonna be a snowball fight again. It happened last week. Andy Reid was threatening to kick people's asses in the stands, and imagine what they're gonna do to Tom Brady. So I'm expecting a plethora of snowballs.
He's gonna get hit by a snowball, and all of a sudden he's gonna look at his arm, and there's a fucking syringe. He just passes out on the field.
Man. Better than razor blades.
Did they just tranquilize Tom Brady? Yes.
Absolutely
Yes, they did. Keep it classy, Kansas City. Alvin, what's your prophecy?
My prophecy. Oh wait, that's January 26th. My prophecy is Virginia over Duke. Number 4, number 1. I feel like it's just gonna be another week for Duke.
I can feel the hatred towards Duke from you.
What?
I can just feel it. I can feel like it's almost like you're a North Carolina fan.
Duke's what, lost twice?
I am a North Carolina fan.
I know that.
We know
was
that.
a joke.
God bless.
Well,
we get it. You like everybody that won the 90s.
I do. That was the year.
Except for the Mariners.
hey, they had some success in the 90s, just not, title success.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that wraps up this week's edition. We're sorry for the delay on getting a new podcast out. Holidays and technical difficulties with my computer freezing in the middle of recording last week. So that was a bummer. We had some quality shit for you. I'm Casey Coggins, and as always, joined by Alvin Hebert.
See y'all next time.
And Andrew Lira.
Gravy.
Young Gravy.
Young Gravy.